Okay, and we're about to get our technology all in order, but while we're doing that, I want to say that when I joined, Paul and I joined this club, thanks to Jim, many years ago, maybe about 12 years or so, I met Ginny Rich, and one of the first things she said to me after we talked for about 5 minutes is, "You need to go to Project Amigo with me." And we went. And as many of you have noticed by now, it's changed my life. It's made me a pain in your ever-loving necks about it. But it's one of the best things I think we've ever done, is be part of this group. And I want to introduce Dora Zúñiga. She is the Donor Services Guidance Director. And well, I'll leave it there because she has a lot to say. And then there's the 7 of us who are, or 6 of us, Judy and Spirit. We're going to tell you about our service week. So, Dora, welcome. Gracias.
Thank you. So we're going to figure out here, Brian's going to help me with my technology. I'm not as young as I look. That technology always challenges me. So I started, so I began in Project Amigo about 1.5 years. And I came because I was in a midlife crisis. I went and joined that thing called corporate world. And my heart was shriveling. And a girlfriend said, you know, you should look at something related to Rotary, maybe something around kids, because I love kids, maybe something international with Mexico. And then the other girlfriend looked up on LinkedIn and sent me Project Amigo. And I have to tell you that I never heard of Colima ever in my life. You know, and I'm from Mexico, so that was kind of crazy. But this was the perfect job for me. I've been a Rotarian for 25 years and dedicated my life to helping children in the United States break the cycle of poverty and be able to access education. So to be able to help Mexico, which is where I was born, but help the kids that are kind of like my familia, they're like my cousins, to see them be able to break the cycle of poverty through Project Amigo was just an incredible opportunity for me. So you all know that Project Amigo was started because a Rotarian was looking for a Latino to go hike. And what we do in a nutshell, is that we help children be able to get their education in the state of Colima. Simple like that, very, very simple. The pictures that I'm showing you is from Quesaria. When the project started, there was a teacher who was teaching under a tree, and she was teaching school. Thanks to the involvement of Rotarians, we were able to build these buildings, and we handed them over to the government, and we do after-school tutoring programs. And you know, the kids that I'm showing you here, most of these pictures are pictures that I've taken. These young ladies I met on my interview. 2 of them said they loved math. One of them said she loved reading. And these are opportunities that kids would not have had it not be for Project Amigo. When you come on a service week, yeah, you can play with them, you can have a lot of fun, but you really are inspiring and providing hope for them. This young man, Tamir, this young man, he's just handed over a very expensive camera to him. And there's lots of other pictures where he is showing the kids, he is showing the pictures to the rest of the camera, and they're looking through it, and they're just seeing all the world of possibilities. So you all know where Project Amigo is in Colima. Now, we're partnering with people, helping them, we're helping, you know, like-minded people like you all be able to help these kids. Why? Well, you know, the educational system in Mexico stops being free at 6th grade. And the families are facing something that when you're earning $10 to $12 a day, how do you make the decision? You know, you're just surviving. And so because of Project Amigo, kids are breaking that cycle of poverty. We graduated over 950 kids from high school. over 110 graduates from the university as well. And by the way, they graduate typically in the 4 to 5 years that they're supposed to. They're graduating, they're being teachers, they are being engineers, they're being doctors. So very heavy duty education. You know, I got a degree in Spanish because that's where I had the most amount of credits. And I don't know how to do the accent still. Maybe my friend will help me. So I like to show this one particular story here because kids start at the elementary school level in our incentives programs. So this is Aldo, the 58 degree innovators from Alaska did a drive to provide shoes. And so Aldo doesn't look very happy, but you know, he got a pair of shoes and he's happy to get them. So we think it's a pair of shoes. He's not very excited in elementary, but our incentives program really helps kids to stay in school. The next picture is mom. They're standing in front of their house, and it's a pretty decent house. And you see Aldo there, he's smiling because the kids in our program have to do service hours 10 a month. They also have to have a GPA of 8.5 out of 10. And Aldo's feeling pretty proud of himself because he just led a group of Rotarians through an exercise with the elementary kids. So he's feeling pretty good about himself. Mom is pretty excited because her and her husband have figured out how they are, even though they're migrant and seasonal farm workers, they're here year round. Dad works in sugarcane, mom works in blackberries. And so they work in other industries so that the family can stay year round because they want a better life for their child. So there is a partnership. Parents have to say yes. And I tell people that we are sort of like big brothers, big sisters in the United States and Boys and Girls Club. We provide that wraparound services for the kids. And so the big brothers, big sisters part is you all. You are the mentors. You are the crazy gringo who spends money, who says, I'm gonna give $700 so that a child is on scholarship. And you write to them and you encourage them. And when they're having a difficulty in school and the staff in Mexico says, look, you can overcome this. You know, there's a crazy gringo in the United States who loves you. How many people give away money? They think they're smart. They think that you can do this, and that encourages them. So thank you all for everything that you all are doing. This club has been absolutely phenomenal to us. The last person here, that's the mentor for Aldo, Charlie there. And you know that we have the service weeks. I'm not going to tell you anything more about them because my colleagues, our recent Rotarians here can tell you all about them. But one piece I want to point out. In the past, it used to be Rotarians that came. We are really promoting families coming. Some of you might have grandchildren. This is a great opportunity to come with your grandchildren. We've added a couple of weeks in the summertime for 24, 2 for English as second language, and 2 for swimming. I'm going to tell you a little bit about them. And so all the things, you know, all the weeks have, you know, an opportunity, have a theme. You get to meet your becario. This is a great opportunity. You've written to them, and on your first trip and in every trip successfully, you get to maybe bring a little present and you can hang out with them. And they get to say thank you to you. You get to have a wonderful meal with them.
That's pretty good.
So Laura had asked me to talk to you about where are we going? What's our vision? So you know, the Project Amigo has been around for a long time. We've had some bumps and some challenges like every other nonprofit. We have this thing called COVID that really put us behind.
This thing called COVID.
Yeah, it had a big impact because one of our sources of revenue is Rotarians and people who love us coming to Project Amigo. So we're recuperating for 3 years of not having hardly any visitors. Okay? And so one of the big changes that we've done is that we've eliminated, some of you know that we used to have this incentives program. People gave $100 and we matched it with a child. We decided that that just was not cost effective for us, that really the true work is when the kid gets on scholarship in 7th grade, okay? And so the other big change that we made this year is we said, this thing called inflation has happened in Mexico too. And so we have changed from $600 in the fall when we do renewals, it'll be $700. We have also done the opportunity for you all to, when you sponsor a kid, to do it on a monthly basis. Writing a whole check for $700 might be a bit much, but in little chunks, as our friend Anita Harris, individual has said, is more effective. College continues to be at $4,000. And I'm showing you these particular pieces. I do want to say thank you. This club has been loyal. You have been supportive of us for close to 20 years. You have supported different kids. You have, you currently have 3 becarios that as a club you sponsor. You provided us a humongous gift of a grant where we were able to buy a stove, things that we just couldn't buy otherwise. We just didn't have in our budget. So we're super, super grateful about that. One of the big changes that we're making at Project Amigo is that we want to do more opportunities, have more opportunities for our kids. You know how we all send our kids off to summer school or to summer camp. We want them to get some sort of enrichment, some sort of opportunity for growth, to feel better about themselves. So in the upcoming summer, we're gonna do 2 weeks of swim class, and we're gonna do 2 weeks of English as second language for our kids. We want them to acquire these skill sets that will help them feel really good about themselves. And in any profession, if you speak the English language, it's a significantly marketable skill set. We want to catch them at an early enough age. So starting in middle school, we're going to be providing that opportunity for kids. And this year we've had a little bit of a special grant. We have a special donor who's provided us with the opportunity to send our kids to go learn how to drive. It's a skill set again. Now, do these kids have actual cars that they own? They don't. But if you apply for a job and you say, yes, I know how to drive and I have a driver's license, that gives you an extra edge. So always looking to do that. And this is where Laura wants me to tell you about how many kids are we going to serve. So last year, we were serving 164 kids, and we said, we need to serve more kids. So we added another 34 to get up to 200 kids. And we put those kids on scholarship, whether or not we had a sponsorship. I am deeply grateful to Laura and to a couple of other of our volunteers who stepped up and said, send me some bios. I know some people have great big hearts who will say yes to sponsoring these young people. And so this year, we're gonna add 20 kids on scholarship, and we're gonna put 30 kids on our waiting list. And perhaps I'm looking for a couple of things that Laura said, tell me what's your wish list. I would like 20 more sponsorships. I have this wonderful problem this year. We have 14 kids who are graduating from high school. How many of them do you think are applying for university?
14. Oh, 14.
All 14, yes. We have probably about a 68% rate of those kids who get accepted. Here's one of the things that perhaps we have not done as well. Because your sponsorship in the past has been 600. I call you and say, congratulations, Laura. Your kid's in high school. He or she is a senior. Suhei is a senior. And she's applying for university. She applies in May. Your scholarship has been $700. She will find out whether or not she gets into university around August 1st. And then school starts August 15th. And Laura, the cost is $4,000. That's a big, for 1 year.
That's a year of university.
That's a year of university, which
That's a
is.
pretty good deal.
It's
Take it.
it's a very reasonable price.
I
Does
think
that
I could go
include
to-
the like living in the dorm?
It does include living in the dorm. Some of the kids, cultural situations, they have to negotiate with their parents to go to that next level. So some of the kids, some of the girls in particular are going to and from. So we're providing the money for them to do the transportation. That's how they negotiated with their mother and their dad that yes, that they can continue. So not all of the kids that are in university are able to stay in the dorm. So they have to make those compromises. So, you know, sometimes Laura might say to me or others say, oh, I didn't find that. One of the changes is we're gonna talk to you when it gets into high school. High school in Mexico is 3 years. So when they get to that year, the first year of high school, we're gonna talk to you about it so that you can start to ponder and think about, you know, what are you gonna do? And some sponsors say, I can't do it, but I can do half. And we're happy to have that half. We want our kids to ideally have no more than 2 sponsors at the university level. Here's why. They want to build a relationship with you. You want to build a relationship with them. This is the busiest time of their life and the hardest time of their life. And so we're making that opportunity for them. Last thing that I'm gonna tell you about, when you're changing kids' lives, one kid at a time. And you think that you've changed just that one kid. But what you don't know behind the scenes is that with Evelina here, she has a 20-year-old sister who's disabled. Can you imagine being disabled in Mexico in Cofradía with the cobblestone streets? Because her older sister went to college, her younger siblings have been able to go to school, the family's able to provide for the 20-year-old sister who is disabled. Chelis is on our board of directors. He's close to being 30. And then people like Ceci on the far right-hand side, they're starting to become entrepreneurs. Ceci has a plot of land where they're growing avocados and tamarinds. And she's also started a little tiendita so that her cousins are able to go to school. So just in conclusion, I want to say again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You know, here's my information. I have cards. You know, you really are investing into the next generation of kids. The young lady who's, let's see, I can see my notes. The young lady here, her name is Mariana Margarita Martinez, and you all sponsored her. And she graduated, and she is now an executive assistant in 2020. So you're making a huge difference. And I'm gonna let Laura and her team go next. Thank you, and I'm gonna be around as long as you all want me to be around to answer any questions you might have.
Perfecto. Okay, so this is what came up. This looks like hers. Okay, so yours is called Project.
Technology, the bane of my existence. Okay. Anyway, some of you are very familiar with this little adventure, and some of you may have never heard about it before, but last year I sent out an email, which some people read. Not everybody reads email. But anyway, I said, let's go to Project Amigo. Yeah. And it's been a dream of mine since I met Jimmy and went to Project Amigo to have a group of us go, to have a group of Metro members go to Project Amigo. And we were successful this year. There were supposed to be 8 of us. We missed Maureen so much because she got the COVID. But 7 of us who went, we were joined by Connie and Judy and Renata, who are honorary club members. And so that was really great. And so 7 of us went. We want to tell you a little bit about our trip. And okay, so I'm not going to tell you a lot about Project Amigo. We just heard a lot. But I have a few copies of, if you could pass those around, of what our work week.
Laura, can you stand in front of the,
What?
we want to see you in the,
Okay.
no, you can't.
So,
The other.
the work week or the volunteer week is completely planned. We arrive, we are picked up by Project Amigo staff, and we are completely hosted. Colima is that little yellow dot right there, so it's kind of a beautiful trip to get there. We go to Guadalajara and they pick us up and we spend a week having the most marvelous time you can imagine. We picked an English tutoring week for our week, for our group. And I've been to many, I don't know, 5, 6. And I have to tell you, as much as I love the other weeks, this one was my favorite. I actually felt useful. You know, a lot of times you go on things and you don't, I mean, you're supposed to be there helping and doing this. But when you're actually using, for me, this was using skills that I actually have that I can share, which are language skills. It was very nice to be bilingual, but it wasn't at all necessary. And everybody can tell you, you really don't need to speak Spanish to do this. So I'm going to turn this over. This are the work weeks. And go on to the next one, next slide. Can you go on to the next slide?
Well, I wanted to point out that the Day of the Dead, the one at the very bottom, is the one that I've been looking at. And this way, you know, we can get people to go to that.
We want to go to the Day of the Dead.
It's phenomenal.
All right, this was the big group. We were, and this is the volcano. So everybody will hear about the volcano. And so there we are. And then we were joined by John, who might actually be at this meeting. So it's so wonderful to have him here. And
He's a big partier.
and then another
Yeah.
John.
You
And,
talk.
and then there was a mom and her son from Ohio. And they were there for a week. So I'm going to pass this on to who is next. It was supposed to be Judy, and it was taking Judy's part. Okay, keep going. Excellent. Okay, so here's the classroom that we had. Those are some of our club members working with students. We had a teacher, and I think Renata's going to tell you more about this particular part of it. But okay, so here's our teacher, and he was really marvelous. He was had been a teacher and came from California to run this week. And he was creative, engaging, and we had a ton of activities. I mean, you see us kind of sitting around, but then as you can see, Scott and one of us, Randy, we did a lot of outside activities and standing and talking and grilling these students with these words. So they learned all about vegetables. You're on.
Well, it was a great pleasure to be. It was a great pleasure to be in Colima with our group. And to be dealing with this highly selected group of high school and college kids who were really there to spend a full week immersion in English language. And we had such a delightful time eating with them every meal, sharing their stories as best they could present them with their English in process, English being learned. We went on field trips with them. You can see the Amigo bus there.
We have a picture of that simply because every seat in that bus was donated by some Rotary. And they're inscribed in all the different seats, the club, as well as people donated the engine block and all kinds of other things to that bus.
Someone has done a very creative job with the fundraising, that's clear. But the kids were exposed not only to us, English speakers, English immersion, but to trips, field trips to museums, and to every day started out with a hike. Pre-dawn, let me tell you, a 3-mile hike. And,
I didn't go on any of them.
and I went on every one. So, yeah, whatever you choose, we stayed in lovely accommodations that were part of Project Amigo. And it was just all around a very gratifying experience that just thanked and warmed your heart just by its simple nature. And corresponding with a couple of the kids via email, and it's a wonderful thing.
Who's talking about home visits?
Yeah.
You, are you?
No. We also had the good fortune of being able to visit the students' homes. Those of them who invited us, and it was really a delightful. Get sober and see the kinds of homes that they had, and you know, they were very small, and most of the time was filled with people who were very, very grateful for the work we were doing and shared their hospitality with us. Have a couple more.
Yeah, Marcel, yeah.
One of the things that
Renata, right here.
one of the things that the kids did was prepare a meal for us. And this entailed quite a range of experiences for them in terms of having a budget, going to the market, picking out the ingredients they wanted, deciding what they wanted to prepare, and so on. And it ended up with this picture up here on the left of a delicious meal presented by them with gratitude to us. And they were just fabulous kids. Here are some of the people in the kitchen showing their skills, and every meal was fabulous in its own way and totally different from the next.
And this is the school that we visited.
Okay.
And
Right here.
Dora has already talked about the origins of this school, but it's amazing when you actually go there and you see. For some reason, I just have really decided that I like over here to the right, with the hat on. And she just, like all the children there, it was just wonderful to get to meet them. These are some of the activities that we did with the students. You can see that many of the students that we worked with also are working here now with the children. And these are some of the exercises. This was really fun, where they were learning their colors by going ahead and dipping their hands in the paint and then putting it up on paper. It was very cute. This is, remember when we collected all of the fabrics and notions and ribbons and everything else that we flew over to Project Amigo. Their facility is in that school. And this is when we delivered it all to them and were able to get rid of those huge suitcases.
So I'm losing something in the pronouns. Who are you delivering these to?
These are to women who are associated with the children, many of them, who live in the community that is right there. And I'll show you some pictures soon of that.
Let me just interject real quick. I've been collecting sewing supplies for Quesadilla for a while. Ever since I was there a year ago, well, in June, and found that they had a Rotarian from Boise had taken a whole bunch of sewing machines down there. They had started a sewing room. And you know, it was near and dear to my heart. So I started collecting sewing materials from my friends and neighbors. And so I was very grateful. Every single one of us took a huge suitcase full of stuff. And so we were able to deliver 7 suitcases of fabric and all manner of notions. Connie donated, I don't know how much fabric. And it's amazing. They had one bolt of fabric when we started, and now their sewing room is full.
Speaking of Connie, here she is, learning how to weave a baskets. Yeah, would you like to?
One of the wonderful experiences I had with Project Amigo was, going and being able to, meet other, for lack of other better word, makers. I like, I make things and I weave and I do anything I can with my hands. And so I met this gal that was weaving this basket, and I was really interested. Well, she hands it to me and starts showing me how to do it, and sends me home with the basket she's weaving and the materials so I can finish it. And on our home visits, there was a grandma who was embroidering, and so I was quite interested in that and talking to her. Or trying, I don't speak Spanish, so, you know, letting her know I thought it was beautiful. And as we are leaving this home where they have nothing, she comes, sends the the Project Amigo child out with 2 of these napkins that she embroidered. She sent home, which, I mean, they don't have much, and they're willing to give what they have, which was absolutely, it just was heartwarming, and it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. But this gal, Eugene, was wonderful. You know, and we're all in there talking to her about stuff, and she's got me weaving a basket, so it was cool.
Did you finish it?
I did, it's my sunroom.
Before even leaving, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so these are pictures of the of the facility that people live in. It's right there in the school. And it was very, very sobering. Here we have 3 pictures here. The middle one is the laundry facility, and this is you can see how they use equipment here to fill the drains and to do the laundry. This is the picture on the right is kind of an attempt to get you a picture of the inside of one of the homes. And then on the left is an attempt to get you some sense of how large the facility is and how many homes might be involved and what the lifestyle might be like. It was really sobering.
Paul, is the laundry there, is that Project Amigo laundry or is that community laundry?
It's community laundry.
It's a migrant camp.
Yes, it's a migrant camp. And the whole thing, the idea is to try to encourage people to stay in the camp so they can send their children to school. And again, I just can't overemphasize what I thought that was what a difficult situation and lifestyle that must be like. Okay, Mark.
So I want to talk about sponsoring kids. Why? So before Connie and I came, so we signed up to sponsor a young lady. In fact, she's the one in the middle with the big smile and the dimples. And why we did it, I think the important thing is we wanted to give her hope. Because these kids, they may not have hope. They may not even think that there's a possibility that they could attend high school or even college. You know, because that's just something that they would never even consider. So what we wanted to do was give her hope, know that she had the ability to go as far as she wanted to go. In fact, Judy translated for us. And so I told the young lady, I said, this is not a one-time deal. We are committed all the way through. that we are committed to you, so you know, for as long as you want to go, we are committed to you. Judy cried. And I think the next day, Judy and Scott signed up for their very own student. So again, that's why it's important. And so like now, every day I'm learning, you know, I've been doing Duolingo for a year or so. I'm going to continue. My goal is to be fluent when I go to Cecile's graduation from college. I want to be fluent to talk to her.
Well, that, this is, Jim's scholarship student, sorry. In the middle there with the Oregon t-shirt. And his name is Dylan. And this is Suge, who Laura and I have been sponsoring for several years now and is graduating and going on to college. Okay, again, more students. And these are people that are being sponsored by folks in our club. And this is Jose Luis, who's being sponsored by our grandson, Jacob, and his sister, who's also a high school student and being sponsored by other club members. And then over here is Luis Alberto in the middle, who is being sponsored by the club. Okay, and we have John, and the reason we've included this slide is that John has been sponsoring this student through high school and also through college. And she's now an architect, and he's been sponsoring her the whole time. So hats off to John.
Thank you. That's very kind of you.
Almost. Hey. And this is the whole group that we took close to the end of the program. And I just wanted to introduce the person that's sitting right here in the middle on the lowest shelf. She was our host the whole time. Her name is Amigo. And took great care of us and managed to keep us on track, everything else, which, given who we are, that. Yeah, she was wonderful. All right.
Hey, Paul,
Yes.
did you say something about mi casa? Or are you gonna say?
Yeah.
I don't want to stand in the way of fun, but I was a latecomer to this group. I thought, why send a group of gringos? What good could we possibly do? But I went along for the trip, and they have a very interactive teaching program where we actually were helpful and could see the students advance in their skills using English in just the week that we were there. Not sure my Spanish got any better, but what was most convincing for me was to see how when we visited the school, for example, the teachers are saying, this school would not exist if not for you. It was the various Rotary clubs that supported through the years, got the school started, provided the support not only for the school, but so it made sense for these youngsters to go to school and not to go from migrant camp to migrant camp. We were able to see how this program extended all the way through college. And this is a picture of the dormitory where you are. And you can see, each flag represents one of the Rotary clubs that's donated and contributed to this club. And to see how you had a program that actually provides the financial support and the moral, not moral, but the spiritual support to make this program go from preschool all the way through college That's something I can stand behind.
Want to point out that the flag, if you look at the second row from the top and second from the right, that's our flag.
Yay.
See it?
With the green,
Yes, the green and the Rotary emblem floating over the river and the trees, and that's us. And of course, we wouldn't be Rotary if we didn't go out and have dinners with other Rotary clubs. And this is the Rotary Club of Guadalajara. And Heather organized this. It was great. We had dinner with them twice. And we're looking forward to possibly doing some projects together in the future.
oh, good.
Yeah, so it's a great group. And there's one other thing, there's a JPEG on this, hopefully, that you can find on the drive, I think.
Okay, download it, anything else?
Okay, we'll stick this in there and look at the JPEG. Can I sit? Yeah.
So while they look for that, I want to say to you all, I don't know how many of you all are first generation to go to college. I'm one of those kids. I got really lucky. I had some great teachers. We have public schools in the worst schools in the United States. Everybody is taught basically the same thing. And you get lucky, you get a teacher who says, hey, you're kind of smart. Hey, you're kind of good at math. Hey, you've got some leadership skills. And we believe it as kids. And that turns us around and it keeps us focused. And then you get the next one that helps you with financial aid and you're able to lift yourself up. Our kids in Mexico, they could be the next Steve Jobs. They could be the next president of the United States or Mexico or the next entrepreneur. And they are not able to walk away. They could even have a great teacher, but they're not able to go to school. If it wasn't for people like Mark, like Connie, like Laura, like Paul, like all of you in this room, these kids would not be able to break that cycle of poverty. So you're making a humongous, humongous difference. So thank you for everything that you're doing. I forgot to say, thank you, Stephen, for having me today. Brian, thank you for being great tech. And every successful program where we have success in the local communities and local Rotary clubs has a great cheerleader. And that would be Laura.
Yes.
Oh, see, you look at that cute picture.
This is in reply to any of you who are wondering if we're gonna go back. And yes, we are. We're ready to head. So this is exciting and thank you for this opportunity. I have several pictures of all of us on that horse, so. Thank you.
Questions? Any questions?
Oh, questions?
Amigos, questions?
So what university they go to when they in that area?
So here, in the United States, we have lots of opportunities for private, public. Our kids apply for 3, 4, they have one. The University of Colima, it is a public school. We have a really great acceptance rate, but sometimes the kids pick a track where it's very competitive. You know how sometimes you don't get into the program you want to here because maybe there's legacy, kids getting in. Well, sometimes there's money. So sometimes kids have to wait for an extra year. If a kid drops out of university for whatever reason, the door is always open for them to come back. And so kids eventually finish.
And by further support of the young people that do make it to the university and attend there, we had the really fun pleasure of visiting a place they call Mi Casa, my home, my house. And this is like a big, we'd say, dormitory for just Amigo's kids, who girls on the first floor, boys on the second, house parent, prepared meals and so on that further enable them to complete their mission of attending and getting through a university. And they were so excited to be there, so delighted to be part of Mi Casa.
All right, and for the folks on Zoom, please, if you have a question, raise your virtual hand or just go ahead and speak up so we can make sure that we get to you. You're not forgotten on that side. Are there any other questions in the room?
This is Warren. So, as a migrant camp, assuming that there were like other people living close by to the school, what's that migrant camp like, and what do the adults in the how do the adults in the migrant camp live?
So the migrant camp facilities from when we started to now are significantly better. They are provided by the local place, and when they are working, they have a discount where they're no longer working with the dad, typically the dad working in sugarcane. When they're not working, they have to pay more rent. And so it's a one room, maybe 8 by 8, no running water inside, and a dirt floor. The families make the best, you know, I wanna say that while families are happy to have figured out how to stay there year round, they're making the sacrifice to figure out how to make it work because their kid has an opportunity to be able to break that cycle of poverty. Now, I'm gonna tell you that most of the kids have a part-time job, just like they do in the United States. They want a little pocket money. And the challenges for the family is, can we keep our son in school? So sometimes a compromise is that young man works on Saturdays during the season in the sugarcane to help out the family. So it's you know, home is where you are together with your family and you're able to make ends meet. You know, I think Paul said it best, you know, it's very sobering to see it, but then you realize we don't really need all the gadgets we have to be happy. So. Great question.
All right. If there are no other questions, I don't see any on the online side. If we're none here, then or Emilio, gracias. So, and Joe from Metropolitan, hats off to you guys. You're unbelievable.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So thank you so much. Okay, we're gonna go to happy